Hi guys, welcome back to Fuck All's Coming Home, the Podcast Wars Premier Review Channel, bar 6, 7 maybe. Yeah, been away for about 6 days. Well, I haven't, but I've been away from you. There's been so much going on, I just don't know where to start. I'll start at the end, right? It's currently Monday in my world. Now, there is huge ruck developing today between Fighting Trolls and Uncle K. Trolls has been inviting people onto his show and scheduling their appearances. I think he may not have actually arranged it with them before he scheduled them in. People don't like that sort of stuff. And he's done it with Uncle K. K has now put a few videos out saying he's going on tonight at 6:30, where he's going to be spilling some fucking beans. Yeah. And Trolls has been on saying he's better looking than K, and bring it on, you know, giving out his postcode for fights, I believe, for fighting purposes. So that's actually ongoing today as we speak. What happened earlier in the week, where we had the 3D press conference, didn't we? I think we spoke about that. After that, then it was kicking off, wasn't it? And then Lazar started banging out the lives, pulling in the big numbers. I've said this in previous shows, previous videos. I'm trying to work out the exact number, which I don't know, but when you look at how many views people get and all that, I'd say there's sort of maybe sort of between 5,000 and 10,000 hardcore watchers of this sort of stuff. And then that probably goes up to, say, 20,000 odd, 20,000 plus of people who just dip in and out. You know what I mean? I think there's probably about 5,000 to 7,000 people like me who watch this stuff on a daily basis. So all of these channels are, you know, fighting over a very small amount of potential viewers. And this is why people need to branch out if they're going to progress, you know. There's this sort of, what they call it, a glass window and a glass ceiling. I think there's a glass ceiling of how far you can actually go purely dealing with podcast beef. Because there's not enough people interested to, you know, to start taking your views into the 10s, 20, 30, 100,000s, you know, where the bucks are. Now, there's only a few reasons people make YouTube videos, as I see it. There's to entertain themselves, you know. It's a creative outlet, innit, you know. You can watch stuff and sort of report back on it, you know, your findings or whatever. You know, you can do it for creative reasons. You know, I see myself in that bracket, you know, being an artist, you know, of sorts. I'm a sort of an artist, you know. I look around me, I observe the world. As Dan Riley once said, you know, he's an absorber. And yeah, and I then come on you and tell you what I make of it all, you know. There's people who do it for money, thinking, right, there's going to be some money in this one day, so I'll go down that road. You know, that's who they put in that bracket. I think somebody like, what's his name, Ronan, the Irish lad, well, Northern Irish lad, the Island boy. You know, when he first come on, he said he had a 10-year plan in the podcast game. Fuck knows what that's all about. But I think his plan was thinking, right, I want this to be my job, you know, being a podcaster. You know, he's seen people like James English and Sean Atwood and thought, right, I want to be doing this full time. You know, the stonemason game probably being a bit tough for him in the winter. So he put together a 10-year plan, and then immediately like set about trying to get in with Decca, you know, trying to get in with people, get on lives, you know. And good luck to him, don't get me wrong, he seems a tidy enough boy. it's like when you have sort of ambitions in these sort of spheres, I find it a bit weird, you know. What do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a podcaster focusing on other men arguing about nothing near enough. Okay, but he does branch out, and he makes like domestic violence videos, and yeah, so there's money. There's people do this for money. Bit like, you know, fighting trolls, isn't it? I think he sees it as this is potentially going to be like his job. Some people do it like for ego, you know, thinking, right, I want to be someone, you know. And obviously outside the front door, it's very tricky to be someone. So it's easier to do it in here. So some people are like, oh, you know, I want to be one of the players in this YouTube world. In this dark little corner of YouTube we're dealing with here. So yeah, so several reasons why people get involved. There was a reason I started talking about that, which I now can't remember. But yeah, so Lazar started banging out the lives, didn't he? Very entertaining stuff, you know. For him to sit there for like an hour and a half, whatever he does, on his own, just talking and keeping it entertaining, you know, that takes a sort of bit of a talent, doesn't it? It takes a bit of skill, it takes like personality. You need some banter, for want of a better word. I hate that word, but yeah, you know, you need some material. You need to be able to think quickly on your feet and just look into your phone and just talk, you know. And he does it knowing that there's like 700 people watching and commenting, and they know the ins and outs of his business, and fucking hell, man, that takes a bit of doing, you know. Like Fighting Trolls does it as well, doesn't he? But obviously, he's always got loads of people on as well. So yeah, so there was the Lazar Fighting Trolls beef was going on, innit? You know, I think Trolls is very concerned about Lazar taking his percentage of viewers, even though you won't admit it. But yeah, Kay did point out in a video today that I was watching Trolls last night when he was talking to Danny Christie. And, you know, and Trolls is very sort of, you know, his attention wanders, doesn't he, when he's on lives. But he was looking at his phone to the point where Danny Christie was like, Paul, you know, what are you doing? Like, you know, I've come on to talk to you. And you're like, and Paul's like, oh, sorry, mate. But yeah, Kay pointed out that was exactly the time that Lazar had gone live, you know. So Paul's head's like fucking million miles an hour at the moment with all this, and all this going on with the 3D Fight Club and all the fucking shenanigans going on. So yeah, it looked like he was on a live checking Lazar's figures, you know. And once you start worrying about how many people are watching your videos, how many are on your live, that's weird. But once you start worrying about how many views other people are getting, fucking dangerous business, isn't it, mentally, anyway. So it looked like that was going on. So yeah, Trolls has got this fight coming up. He's got this ongoing beef going on now with like, what could you describe him as? Like the FIFA boys, isn't it? You know, these boys used to be on the pit. Who we got? We got Uncle K, Fighting Trolls, Exposure TV. They went off and they started doing the FIFAs. There was a bit of like back and forth, wasn't it, you know? They were giving Trolls a bit of shit. He was saying, oh, I don't know why people have stopped coming on, you know, I haven't done nothing wrong. And it was all like a bit light-hearted, really, and it's taken a sinister turn this week. Taken a very dark turn this week. Those ongoing beefs. Old Dr. Rackbull, he's now been singled out by these lads for the treatment. So he's been getting laid into over the last few days. It's a weird one with him, isn't it? Because he went on my mate Dangerfield's got a channel. He has for years, you know, dealing with all sorts. But I'd sent him a couple of like, you know, I talked to him about these podcast wars and that, and I'd sent him a couple of the clips, you know, the Rackpool clips of when he was going down the police station to like bail out his lieutenants and all that business. Because they were quite funny, weren't they? You know, they were like fucking comedy fucking sketches. And my mate Dangerfield ended up getting in touch with him and getting him on. Rackbull was on yesterday, you know, sort of half admitting, like, this is all a bit of a fucking act, really, you know, and but it's all getting a bit personal now. I think Alan wants to fight him now. Yeah, Kay's going after him, fighting, not fighting Trolls, what's his name, Flying Monk. Yeah, really laying into him, you know. Flying Monk said, you know, be careful, because I appear out of bushes and shit like that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, whoa, what? And, you know, as Flying Monk said, you're not even a real doctor. He's like, yeah, well, I think we all knew that, mate, to be honest. So, yeah, so when the Trolls and the FIFA Boys divide happened, Rackbull managed to sort of keep himself out of it, you know? And I'd see him in both camps. But I don't know what the turning point was for this. But he's definitely been like, he's been outed now and he's been pushed out. He's now seen, he's ops, and he's now, FIFA Boys now see him as ops. Yeah, Christ, what's that all about? 3D Fight Club, what's the latest there? Obviously that bloke died, didn't he? That Johnny bloke, so, you know, obviously rest in peace to him. Condolences to his family and, you know, his mates, his business partners, but his mates, more importantly, you know. They're obviously a bit fucking devastated about that. It's weird, isn't it, when you see people and you don't know them, but you see them on lives a few times and you sort of get an idea who they are, and then all of a sudden he's dead. It's like, what? You know, I remember he was on a live once and they were asking about this 3D Fight Club and somebody said, oh, what would happen, you know, if there's trouble there and all that, and this Johnny bloke would have gone, I'll sort it out. He just leaned into the camera and it was like, whoa, yeah, it looks like he fucking will sort it out. So yeah, so for him just to fucking suddenly die, that's fucking weird. So I think, you know, as, what's his name, Ashley McGiffin, or McGriffin, as he said now, they got sort of, you know, motivation now to make this succeed in his memory or whatever. And, but at the same time, then you got Harlan and sort of Dr. Rackbull saying they're going to have a fight in the car park. There's as many fights arranged out in the car park as there is in the fight. Still don't know what's happening with the bill. I know, no, Trolls is still supposed to be fighting out a Scottish guy, isn't he? And a Scottish guy, Dom, is fighting Leighton. You know, are they the only sort of YouTube? Oh, Bobby. Isn't Bobby supposed to be fighting Benson Hedges? What's his name? Ben Hatchett. That was off and then it was back on, but then Hatchett said, well, it's not confirmed it's on till I say, but Bobby seems to think it is, as do I. Big up Bobby, doing great, isn't he? You know, doing great, fair dues. Like, I tell you what, that Bobby Cal, right, it was one live one night. Who was he arguing with? I think it was Ash String. Yeah. Maybe, yeah, I think it was the night where Ash was threatening to go around people's houses and sort of have sex with their wives without permission and stuff like that. And he was having this big ruck with fucking Bobby. And it was during the time, it was during the acro era of the podcast wars where, you know, every third sort of sentence would be, show us your acro. Have you noticed these things go in bandwagonry phases, don't they? Do you know what I mean? There was a spell about a month ago, you know, off the back of flipping Decker, Heggie and Ronan, where, you know, you go down the shop, it's like, can I have 20 Lambert and Butler and 4 cans of Stella, please? Well, you'll have to show me your acro. I can't sell you those until you show me your acro. He's like, oh, for fuck's sake. yeah, but Astring said to Bobby Cal, I want to see your acro. Fucking Bobby Cal was like, well, let's fucking see yours, you weird cunt. And Bobby Cal was like, yeah, I'll show you my acro. And fucking Drink was like, go on then. And then fucking Bobby Cal goes to a box in his house of his paperwork. And he's like, there's my fucking acro. He'd obviously had to have one done. Seems to be like with something to do with like access to his kids or whatever. He'd been in prison and he was trying to get, sort out some sort of situation with his kids by the look of it, and he had to get some sort of paperwork done. And then he was like, yeah, here we are, fucking Drink, you can't. Where's yours then? And Drink was like, it was just cool as fuck the way he did it. Do you know what I mean? Somebody's demanding his acro. He just goes to his fucking box of paperwork and pulls it out. Yeah, so you gotta love Bobby. Seems to be doing well in it with his sort of his addiction fights and all that. Do you know what I mean? It was only a few months ago when he first came on the scene, wasn't it? When he was making videos for the trolls and looking a bit shapeless and that, and then his brother died. Fucking. And he's got good people around him now, and he as well, which is a major part of dealing with addiction issues. That's the addiction is really the lack of connection, really proper connection to other people, isn't it? As we're seeing with Johnny Woodsman now, he was on last night, he was on the other day. That's another thing I forgot to mention. He was on the other day when he was making some mad videos. He was on a fucking mad one. And then he was on Drings Live then last night, fucking basically feeling a bit sorry for himself. He mentioned feeling suicidal and got the attention that was required from that. And then he was like, oh, no, I don't really feel like that. And he just sat there then, lying down all sort of sad. I know John, he's watched a few of these videos, he's commented, and, John, it's not, I'm not being mean to you. If you're watching this, I think you know enough about this game to know that, addiction is all about being like self-obsessed, innit? And fucking self-conscious and self-pity. There's a lot of self-pity in addiction. And I only speak from personal experience. Do you know what I mean? When I was struggling with my own addictions and I fucking get myself into stupid, fucking depressing situations through my addiction, and then feel sorry for myself for being in those situations. Do you know what I mean? And then do it all again, knowing where it was going to end, and then feel sorry for myself again. And I think one of the first things you've got to deal with when you're dealing with addiction is your self-pity. Do you know what I mean? It's still an ongoing battle for me. Do you know what I mean? Fucking wake up some days and I'm like, oh my God, this thing shouldn't be like this. But, you got to put your big boy pants on now, John, I think. Literally looking at those videos. And either just get off YouTube altogether or just, I don't know, you got to, going round in circles, yeah, getting on one, thinking, oh, I know what I'll do now, I'm right off it, I'll make some videos. Fucking running out of drugs, being on a come down, thinking, oh, I know what I'll do now, I'll go online now, make some videos. And it's interesting on the first lap, innit, but after that, then it's just, people just get bored of it, It's like, oh, right, so you're at that stage of your cycle. And in a few days now, we perk up a bit, and then you think, oh, I know what I'll do, I'll go and have a little fucking use up again. And then because it seems like you're a bit like me, you can't actually use to your own advantage. So you'll end up going on a fucking mad one again, and you'll get to that mad peak and think, oh, I know what I'll do, I'll make some videos. Having a fucking go at everybody and all that, and then when I ever come down, I'll come back and feel sorry for myself. Do you know what I mean? I think you know what you need to do, John. Funny, there was some funny lives with him and Astring. Ashley's doing well, off the sniff. But, you know, I think Ash is the same as me when it comes to addiction. See, there's two types of fucking drug users. There's some people who can do it and enjoy it, yeah. There's other people who could do it and enjoy it, but it'll fuck their lives up because they enjoy it so much as opposed to the reality. But they never want to go back to reality, so they end up using 24/7, and that doesn't work in the long term, I found. So yeah, so if you're watching Ash, which I know you won't be, you've got to be careful with the old Beverado, because I know now you're buying four bottles and drinking them and then not having any more, so you think, wow, this is progress from the other week where I was going through 3 grams and fucking 20 cans on a live, and it is progress. But in my experience, I've always ended up back to the 24/7 if I dabble at all, which is why I don't bother at all now. So yeah, so be careful it doesn't get out of hand there, Mr. Dring. But he was on a live with Johnny Bum Bum. And this was before Johnny Bum Bum had hit his come down, so he was still full of beans, shall we say. And no, actually, it wasn't when he was on his full come down. It was when he sort of started coming back down to earth. Yeah, he was still in midair, but the parachute had opened by this point. And Astring was basically banning him from ever teaching again until he sorts his head out. And Woodsman was like, what? Because Woodsman, he's like funny, yeah. He's very intelligent. I don't know if he's a complete and utter wrong un, right? Or if he's just, you know, a bit of a fucking mad head who's got a weird sense of humour and slightly too intelligent for this community. And has got sort of humour which is too clever for this community, so people don't get his jokes, yeah, so people don't realise, oh, that was actually quite funny. It all comes out wrong, and so, you know, I got to agree with Ash to a degree, because would I let Woodsman babysit my children? No, I wouldn't. Is that because I think he's a fucking out and out wrong un? Not particularly, but he's a bit unstable, and I wouldn't take the risk. But yeah, so he was on about going back to teaching, and Astring was like, you're not, mate. Woodsman was like, what? No, you're not. He said, if I hear that you're teaching kids, I'll come to Thailand. No, actually, the way, let me word it properly. What he actually said was, I like you, Johnny. You know, when it comes to YouTube, I like you. You know, you're a good guy on YouTube. But if I hear you teaching kids again, I'm going to come to Thailand and I will take your fucking head off. Or words to that effect. And he said it about 13, 14 times. So yeah, so Astring has struck Woodsman off the teaching register. So one less, Johnny, potentially, eh? Yeah, but I wish you well, John, you know. You're the still suffering addict, you know, and by his own admission, Johnny Woodsman said he's gone on to, you know, he sees himself as a bit of a professional troll, and he's admitted to going on to like self-help groups and stuff and fucking with people's heads, you know, and well, there is an element, you know, of humour in that. Also, you know, if you've got people, well, self-help, trying to help themselves, and there's a group of them together, all trying to help themselves, do they really need Johnny Bum Bum in the middle of it, fucking with them? Probably not. So, you know, maybe it's a bit of karma in it, you know, maybe you've got to pay a bit of a price, and yeah, come back to us then. One of the funniest things I read, I should have noted it, I can't remember, but I read this in the comments. Do you remember the other week when Ben Hatchett was still on a bit of a mad one himself. Seems like he's calmed down. He's trying to sort his head out, you know. Good luck to him in that quest as well. But when he was still on a bit of a mad one on the back of all that stuff with the giving Lazar a dig, he said to Bobby Kyle, he said, I'll fight you, but I want you to do an HIV test, you know, because you've been doing drugs. And I thought, what a fucking horrible cunt of a thing to say, you know. You know, from somebody who's fucking probably sniffing coke off fucking toilet seats, do you know what I mean? Not really. That's the thing of coke heads looking down on smack heads. Always baffled me, that one. I suppose it's the nature of the drug. But yeah, but he was saying to Bobby, he said, I'll fight you, but you need to do an HIV test. And somebody wrote in the comments on one of these videos, he said, I'll tell you what Bobby should do. He should agree to do an HIV test if Ben Hatchett agrees to do an IQ test. That was one of the funniest things I've ever read in this game. Yeah, so, you know, to close it all up, as I say, I don't really have favourites, you know. I'm not here to judge because I'm in no position to. Sometimes all this is really funny, and sometimes it just goes really dark, doesn't it? You know, I've never been one for fighting and none of that. You know, I don't like confrontation. Do you know what I mean? Gets me all fucking stressed out. You know, I'm not a fighting man. You know, I'm not very good at fighting, never have been. But you know that fucking some people enjoy it, don't they? You know, that anxiety. You know, waiting to go for it's like, fuck that. I get anxious enough waiting to go for a game of fucking fuck golf. That's the level of anxiety I'm happy to deal with. Season starting next Monday, so you may not see so much of me. Or they start making videos from the course, you know. Go back to this channel's original plan. Fuck golf's coming home, you know, to bring the sport of fuck golf to the masses. I think a game of fuck golf may sort a lot of these lads out, actually. I've heard quite a few people talking about, you know, being good footballers back in the day. I know, what's his name, Paul Venice has talked about trials, football trials, and playing with clubs, and I've heard quite a few people actually say they used to be half-tidy footballers. So maybe a Podcast Wars Fuck Golf Championship down in sunny Swansea. Maybe that's what we need in the summer, you know, to bring some peace back. But yeah, it's all gone a bit fucking dark, isn't it? I was going to say something then, it slipped my mind. I thought it was pointless making notes for this video. It's just, I've been just bouncing here, there and everywhere, and there's been so much happened in the last 6 or 7 days. Oh yeah, as I say, I have no favourites on all that. That's what I was saying. I don't judge. Oh, Darren G, we haven't mentioned him. Fucking, he's had a mad all week, innit? He seemed to think Exposure TV was something to do with Brian Cockrell. Which, if it is, I never made that connection. I was watching the Darren G live the other day, and he seemed like really sad. I don't know, it's weird, isn't it? I know a lot of people hate him and all that, and you know, I know he still talks about people who are still active, as they say, which is probably not a good idea. But, fuck, it must be intense in his head. Do you know what I mean? It must be very intense in his head. Knowing that, you know, there's so many people fucking don't like you, and there's a lot of people who would probably want to hurt you. That's what I mean about not being a fighting man. Can you imagine going to bed at night thinking, fuck, I seen Billy Moore making a video, and he's like, oh, this is the L5 pan, just twatting this fucking punch bag, and I'm thinking, oh, fuck, imagine taking a dig off Billy Moore. So imagine going to bed thinking, right, if I bump into Billy Moore, he's probably going to fucking smash me in the face. If I bump into him, he's probably going to do this. And he's there, and they're going, if I see you, it's on sight. If I see you, it's on sight. Fuck, it must be mayhem in his head. And he talks a lot of sense. You know, I watch his lives, he talks a lot of sense. I liked his videos when he was just wandering around in the countryside and stumbling across things, and he should just remove himself entirely, I think, from all this fucking nonsense side of it. And I think that's the way he'd sort of grow a bigger channel, you know, not being the fall guy for everybody over here, just to carve out his own new niche of, right, I've been in jail fucking most of my adult life. I've led quite a fucking mental life, and during the course of all that, I've missed out on all this, you know, and now I'm going to investigate the things that I've missed out on, and yeah, be more interesting, wouldn't it? So that's what you should do. Decker's having panic attacks, he was saying last night. Sort of unfollowed from his videos, because I'll tell you what pissed me off is when he's going through that hyper positive phase, wasn't it? When everything's positive. I was thinking, seen this all before, mate. You know, where somebody's fucking writing the shit or whatever, or, you know, things aren't going well, and suddenly they're just talking about how positive everything is, you know. And you think, you're talking about too much, it's like trying to convince yourself, do you know what I mean? When people are genuinely positive, they just act positive, don't they? They don't talk about how positive they are. And it's a bit like that, the other side as well, isn't it? You know, with Johnny Bum Bum. You're right, John. No, I feel a bit suicidal. And everybody's like, what? Oh, you're right, Johnny. Oh, you okay? You okay? It's like, I've known about, I'm just going to make up a number then, but I've known 2 or 3 people who committed suicide, but I knew one quite well. Only happened about a year ago, and he was a bit of a drinker. And the last time I'd seen him, this was a few months before he died. I was in contact with him sort of on Facebook on an almost daily basis, and he'd always been a big drinker since I knew him. Do you know what I mean? Not even a big drinker, alcoholic. Probably more accurate. To the point where, you know, alcohol had nearly killed him a few times or whatever, and he sort of stopped drinking, but he was just smoking weed, you know, and smoking a lot of it. And yeah, and it was during the lockdown and all that, and then he killed himself, and he cut himself, yeah, and apparently he'd done it, and then he must have fucking thought, what the fuck am I doing? And then he phoned an ambulance, and he was like, oh, and then by the time the ambulance got there, he was already fucking dead. Do you know what I mean? So he'd obviously not changed his mind, but realised, what the fuck am I doing? But he keeps cropping up in my Facebook memories, do you know what I mean? Where he was, I think, is it coming up to a year, or it was just over a year, I don't know, but a lot of times using my Facebook memories, you know, from a year ago and 2 years ago, and he was always like really positive, do you know what I mean? We were like, I'd known him for like decades, we weren't like ever best mates, do you know what I mean? But we'd always get on alright and all that, and relate to each other about, you know, addiction and stuff and all that. And he was always very supportive, you know, in his comments. And yeah, point being, you know, the last time I saw him, he looked quite happy. He looked like he was doing all right, and he was like, you know, as I say, he'd stopped drinking, he was smoking a bit of weed, and, you know, and I had a spell of just smoking weed a few years ago when I was trying to, you know, do one of my attempts to stop doing other stuff and stop drinking and all that. And I was just smoking weed, and it fucking drove me mental, I'm not gonna lie, you know. Like I said earlier on in this, some people can smoke weed and some people can cane weed and enjoy it, you know. If you're of a more addictive nature, I was alright as long as I was smoking it. If I could have smoked 24/7, I'd have been alright, but fuck, as soon as I run out, I'm fucking depressed or fucking psychotic or whatever. Arguing with fucking bus drivers, fucking old biddies in shops who are taking too long in queues, you know, and I was thinking I was in a good mood. Just be in the queue in the shop and thinking, everything's alright, yeah, I'm fucking, next thing, I'm fucking arguing with a complete stranger about nothing, thinking, what the fuck was that all about? I just came across then like I was really angry, and I don't even actually feel like I am. So yeah, so it fucked my head all over the place, and so I don't know if that had any impact on my mate, you know, whether he was caning the weed and fucking, he lived on his own, was a bit isolated in lockdown and all that, and maybe he couldn't get any weed, and God knows what happened really. But yeah, but point being, people who go onto YouTube lives 3 days after flashing their ass when they're on a fucking mad one, who suddenly talk about being fucking, they don't tend to be the ones who do these things. Yeah, the people who tend to do it don't talk about it too much. I'll finish on this as well, because I banged on for far too long as ever. I saw, yeah, and this is for anybody out there who's struggling, okay, or whoever feels they can't go on, yeah. I saw a documentary before, it's on YouTube, about the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, and it's a notorious suicide spot, yeah. You know the bridge I'm on about. Well, you maybe don't, but have a look. Golden Gate Bridge. It's like this huge bridge, yeah, and it's quite a big drop. I don't know if it's about 100 feet or something. And the water you go into is rough as well, do you know what I mean? And people go there to commit suicide. It's like hundreds of people, I think, have committed suicide there. There's videos on YouTube showing people, you know, jumping over. There's lots of examples of videos of people going in the water and, you know, committing suicide. I saw one guy once, he stood up on the bridge with his back to the water, and he just stood there like that and just let himself fall back. It's like, what the fuck? But there's a video of this guy, right? He was depressed as fuck. He went there to kill himself. Stood up, you know, climbed over the fence, stood up on the bridge or whatever, you know, ready to go into the water. He let himself go, and as his body tipped like that, as he got to the point where he knew that he was going, you know, it was too late to sort of grab on or lean back. He said that split second, as, you know, his feet were still actually touching the thing, but as he got to that point where he knew there was nothing he could do to stop himself going in the water, he said, at that split second, he said, I realised I don't want to do this. Do you know what I mean? He realised he'd made a mistake, yeah? And he hit the water, I think he hit the water like 30 miles an hour, whatever. And he broke loads of bones, but he got rescued, do you know what I mean? Somebody'd seen him and his boat came, and he ended up in hospital, and fucking, you know, people break their backs doing it. But it's something like 95% of people who jump in there do die, you know, and something like 5% survive, and a lot of them with fucking serious injuries. But he was saying that split second when he knew, fucking hell, I'm doing this, you know, a bit like my mate, potentially, he sort of knew, fuck, no, this isn't the fucking answer. This isn't the answer, you know. And yeah, it's worth bearing that in mind, isn't it? If ever you get suicidal, that it's just a thought, innit? You know, thinking, oh, this will never get better. I can't go on. Yeah, I'll tell you one personal thing, which I've only really told people I trust. Yeah, but I can tell you guys. As I spoke before, I think there's two types of depression. Yeah, there's a sort of one that it just happens, and there's one that's a bit more self-inflicted, you know, through your refueling habits, etc. You know, that there's a type of mental health issues where if I change the way I live and don't do drugs or don't drink or don't do that, like a bit like Johnny Woodsman, this probably applies to you, mate. You could probably solve your mental health problems by changing your lifestyle, yeah? Some people have mental health issues that don't matter how healthily they live, they've got these mental health issues, and they probably need medication, and they probably need professional help, you know? So there are different types, yeah, and I'm not, you know, I do accept that my my mental health issues I've had during the course of my life have been generally pretty much self-inflicted. But yeah, but a few years back, I was going through one of these spells where I sort of wanted to stop using drugs. I couldn't. I won't get anything out of them, but I just fucking had to do it, and blah blah blah. Everything was just grim. I'm not far from where I live. There's a place called the Mumbles Road. It's this big sort of 4-lane road between the city and the beach, really. And I was crossing the road to go to go to the beach, I presume. Can't remember specifically, but once you cross that road, there's not many other places to go. And I was standing there, and I think it's like, 50 mile an hour speed limit, and I was waiting for the green man at the crossing. And as soon as these cars come in, and I had this fucking thought in my head. It only lasted for, well, I don't know how long, but a brief thought. As I said, I was all pissed off. I fucking didn't know how to fucking sort my life out. Felt like I couldn't cope and all that. And this thought come through my head. Go on. Like trying to convince myself to just run out in the road. And it was just like, go on, as if, go on, you can solve all your fucking problems in 2 seconds, better. And then I was like, whoa, and I held on to like the barrier thing. And I was like, what the fuck was that all about? Do you know what I mean? Because I wasn't, even though I was pissed off, I wasn't thinking like that. I wasn't thinking, oh, I don't want to be alive. But I had that split second thought of, go on. And it was just like, whoa, fucking hell. And it sort of wised me up a bit in the days following. I just thought, oh man, I gotta do something about this. I can't be dealing with this. Yeah. So, yeah, as somebody said, I think Lazar said about your favourite demon, because they could have words. If you're going to talk about next man, talk about yourself, innit? So occasionally I think it's only fair that if I'm going to talk about next man, man's got to be honest about man's own things. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, it's a funny old game, isn't it? This podcast was, or whatever you want to call it. There's always this thing about, oh, come on guys, we need to start being more positive, and come on, and then 2 days later, I'm sitting now thinking, right, Kay's on at 6, so he'll be talking about that, and fucking Trolls will be on at 7:15, okay. And then I gotta go to Narcotics Anonymous at 8 o'clock. And then I'll probably catch up afterwards, Well, slight correction, I haven't got to go to Narcotics Anonymous at 8, I choose to. Yeah, and maybe you should choose to too. Or maybe not. Anyway, sorry it's been a long one. As I say, there's several reasons people make these videos. Ego, money, creativity. Or sometimes it's just a little bit of therapy for oneself. Thanks guys. Been stranded on the 290 odd subscribers now for about 3 weeks. I was going to have a big party when I got to 300, but all the food's gone off now, so that's fucked. So yeah, feel free to sort of, if 5 of you tell 1 friend to subscribe, let's just get that 300 and we'll call it quits then, and that'll settle for that. Any more than 300, and you got these gangs of rampant madmen come looking for you. Yeah, all the best. Hairy chest.